Before we get into CSS, we're going to do one last thing to this site. We're going to use HTML5 to divide the site up into sections and tell the computer what various parts of this text are. Right at the moment, I know we've told it to be a list, or we've told it to be a figure, or we've told it to be headline or a paragraph, but we actually have further divisions that we can create in this site. And so I'm going to start off. I'm going to go down into body, which is where we're going to be working. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a div, which is a generic division, and I'm going to give it an ID equals wrap. And I'm going to use this to wrap around my entire site. Command X. And I'm going to go all the way down. And I'm going to place it there. And I'm also going to notate it. And we can create notations that won't show up in the code or won't show up on the page, just shows up in the code. It tells us what we can give ourselves notes about what's going on. And I do that by doing a less than sign, an exclamation mark, and two and only two dashes. And then closes. Okay. Next. So I've run into problems when I'm working on this Mac where it keeps kicking up the dictionary accidentally. So the way I'm going to select the type inside this div is I'm going to put my cursor at the very end of the type, scroll all the way to the top, hit Shift, hold Shift, and then click here, and it should select everything. And then I'm going to hit the Tab key, and it's going to tab things over. Now, in a regular word processor, if you hit Tab, it would just erase everything and just give you a single tab. Since this is for web coding, they make it easy to tab things in because tabs are going to be how we keep our code organized and easy to read. Because if you notice, now there's a line off of my div right here. And if I follow it all the way down to the bottom, you'll see that's where the closing div is. And everything in between is inside of that div, and so is indented. Okay, why do we do this indenting? First of all, it makes it easy to see whether we have a closing tag or not for a given item, since clearly, we've got hundreds, we've got 100 lines of code in between, so it makes it easier to do that sort of indenting. It just makes it easier to do that sort of indenting. I think there's probably a second reason, but can't think of it right now. Okay, next. So I've got a wrap around my entire document. And next, I'm going to create a header, which is different from the head that we created up here. everything in this header is just what's generally in the header in a web document, which is the navigation and the title. So I'm going to Command X that. I'm going to come down here. That is the end of the header. I'm going to tab that over so it lines up properly. And I'm going to select there and come up and hold Shift and hit Tab, and that all gets indented. Okay, so now I can clearly see what's within the header. And I also have navigation within the header. So I'm going to use a div called nav. Okay, so if you go back to my secret decoder page, you'll see that there's a list of these specific divs and what they're for. The navigation div is for navigation. It has to be spelled this way. Otherwise, it won't work or won't work properly. I select all of that and I hit Tab to move that in. That indicates that this is the navigation. And I'm actually going to take this information here that I had on the UL, Command X, and I'm going to move it up into the navigation because this whole thing is the navigation. I'm not entirely certain we need to tell it its role since it is a nav, but it probably doesn't hurt to have it. Okay, and that should account for everything in the header. Header, navigation, we've got a figure and a figure caption, and we have information. Next, we have you could call it an article, but it's not a complete article. It would just be the section on biography. At least that's what I'm telling myself. Section and article are probably the most ill-defined of the named dividers, but I'm going to go with section because it's part of this. And I Command X, and then I'm going to scroll down to the end of the bio, which is right here. Select, and I'm going to tab it in, and then I'm going to hit return. And there's the end of that section. The other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go up, and this ID that I had included, I'm going to Command X, and I'm going to move that up to the section. Okay, so when the navigation goes to biography, it's now going to go to this section rather than the H2 head, which shouldn't make much difference. But I just think it's neater and cleaner to have it out there. Okay, then I come down to the next section, and I'm looking at this, and I'm going, wait a second, this is the project section, not the biography section. So clearly I made a mistake there. So type projects. And then I'm going to create another section. And X. return. And I'm going to Command X, Command V, add the ID for projects to the section. Then inside the section, it's H2 projects. And I'm going to scroll down to the end of the project. Delete section. Though actually this needs to be indented 1. I know, lots of rules, right? So I'm going to put my cursor at the end of small. I'm going to scroll up. Back to here. Hold my shift key and click to select all of the text inside the section. And then I'm going to hit tab and that all moves over. And now when I scroll down from the section, I'll see that it's clear path all the way down to the closing section. Then I'm going to add one more thing. I'm just to be complete, I'm going to add what's called a footer. Not spelled that way. Right. I'm going to add some comments. Well, I've added the footer. I'm going to add the contents of the footer. And then I'm going to go back up to the top and steal this. That's the website address from the header. Go to the bottom, add that there. I'm actually going to just change that tag like that. And then I want to wrap that in P element. Okay, so footer, P element, text and images from, and then the link to the Wikipedia article. And I'm just going to say Wikipedia because it's much shorter and simpler. I'm going to go up a little bit and add a couple more comments. Less than, dash, dash. Oh, less than, exclamation mark, dash, dash. And then closes projects. And then I'm going to go scroll back up to where projects began. That closes that. Less than, exclamation mark, dash, dash. Closes biography. Okay. One could even include little comments like um, And I could copy that. And I can go up here. And again, that would help somebody who's going through here and trying to figure out your code, or it could help you figure it out in the future. All right, I think that was all of the structure I wanted to create. So again, we've created a wrap that wraps around the entire document. We've created a header that wraps around the navigation and the figure and the H1 headline and the rest of this information about Walter Gropius. We've created a nav that wraps around our list of links. We've created a section for the biography, which goes down until the biography ends. Then we have a section for projects that goes down and wraps around all the project section, closes projects. And then we have a footer, which is an additional piece of information, less important information for the very bottom of the page. And we've added some notes to help us understand what it is that we're doing. And now if I go and file, save as, keep forgetting to do that. Save as, make this Gropius 6, save. Then we can go to new share, go to Chrome, and I'm going to go file, open file, Gropius 6. And you shouldn't see any changes really because we've just added structure, invisible structure. The only thing you'll notice is that we added this little piece of text down there. And I'm going to share at the very end of this. Didn't share. Okay. All right, we've gone back to code. I'm going to teach you a tiny little bit of CSS. Not that I didn't teach you a little before, but I'm going to teach you some more. So up here in the head, we're going to add style and close style. So style, the interesting thing about HTML and CSS is that HTML is one code language and CSS is a different code language. And so we're telling the website that we're switching over from the style of HTML that we've been working, or it tells us that we're going to stop using the coded language HTML and we're going to use the coded language for CSS. And what I'm going to do is tell you within these style tags, we're going to do a asterisk. So I'm going to hit Shift 8 and I'm going to hit a curly bracket. So Shift and the curly brackets are down and to the left of your delete key. And what we're doing is we're telling everything on the page, which is what that star is, And I'm going to tell it all to outline 1 pixel solid red. So it's going to outline every item on the page, every body, the div, the header, the nav, the UL, the LI, the figure, everything is going to be outlined in solid red. I'm going to click save. I'm going to go to new share and go back to Chrome, share, hit refresh. And you can see that everything that we created on the page now has an outline box around it. And because all these items have outline boxes around them, we're going to use those boxes to alter the way this site looks. And that will be our next class. For those of you who thought this was like the world's most boring website, well, after next class, this site will look much more interesting. Okay, have a good week.